So Martin, we never figured out how we know each other, right? Did we?
We have not. It's been really, really bugging me.
I know, me too.
I even found an old computer that I tried to crank up to find some old emails. It's just bugging me.
I guess while we're waiting, it would be great for those who are tag members to rename yourself with maybe your company afterwards, so we can get to know each other just a tiny bit better in this strange and remote setting. We'll probably start in, I don't know, a couple minutes. Krista, do you think? We give everybody an extra minute to join?
Sure.
I guess we could get going.
We're close to
This is
a quorum here.
Quorum. And how many is a quorum? We have like 18 appointed members or something?
A quorum is 10
10, okay,
for this group.
great. Okay, well, I guess let's get started. Welcome everybody to the Building Code Council Technical Advisory Group for the Energy Code. It's a volunteer effort, and I appreciate everybody's time. And we're going to spend a lot of time together. We're going to spend 4 hours today and probably have another meeting in a week or two, and spend another 4 hours together, and hopefully we can get through the entire code for the mashup. So we have obviously a lot of challenges ahead of us. We have remote meetings and aggressive energy goals set by the legislature, and the need for a clear and enforceable code. And normally I would buy you pizza, but this year I can't really buy you pizza because I'm not going to pay for it to be delivered to each one of your houses. So today I'm going to remind us we are not writing the 2021 Energy Code. We're just attempting to mash up the 2018 Washington version against the 2021 IECC. And then that base document that Krista sent, correct me if I'm wrong, Krista, is the 2018 Washington State Energy Code with markups from the 2021 IECC.
That is correct.
So we're just trying to marry the two documents so that I think there's 3 goals for that. One is it's not getting worse in terms of performance. So if the 2021 IECC is not as good as the 2018 Washington State Energy Code, well, we wouldn't adopt that, or that wouldn't be part of this mashup document. We would take the more stringent of the two. But in a lot of cases, it's unclear what is more stringent, or it's unclear what a proper mashup would be, which is why Krista is going to walk us through the document. So to the end of trying to keep this to 2 meetings, please keep your comments brief and specific to the goals that I just talked about. I hope I don't have to cut off a lot of discussions today. There's lots of interesting discussions we could have, but a lot of them we don't need to have today, that we can save for May or June when we're actually discussing code proposals. And some comments that you might make that I might attempt to cut you off on would be best discussed over a beer. So, feel free to do that outside of this group. Please keep yourselves muted except when talking. And please raise your hand. Does everybody know how to raise your hand in Zoom? I am going to quickly go through that. If at the bottom of your screen, it should say reactions. And if you go to reactions, if you click on reactions, there's a bunch of clapping hands and thumbs up and crying or hearts or whatever you want to do. But there's a one at the very bottom called raise hand. So when you have a comment, if it's appropriate, you can just chime in, but with this large group of people, I'd like you to raise your hand. I will attempt to see what order people raise their hands in and get to them. When you are done making your comment, please lower your hand, or else it'll look like you still want to make a comment.
Excuse me, Chell.
Yeah.
You said to go to reactions, but I think you need to go to participants to get that raised hand.
Okay. On my computer, it's reactions, but
I've got it in reactions as well.
Huh.
well, there's probably a couple ways to do it. So if you can't figure out how to do that, just unmute yourself and say something. But otherwise, it'd be great to have you raise your hand, and then what it does is it automatically sorts on my screen to the upper left of my screen, so I can see who's raising their hand. So it'll be easy to call on those people. And then there's also like the clap and the thumbs up and the heart and all that stuff. And actually, you know, in a live setting, often when we're discussing something, I would look around the room, and if everybody's generally nodding their heads, we would say, okay, we're ready for a vote on this thing. And if not, you know, if everybody's shaking their heads no, then we might not do that. So I would appreciate it if you did use your reactions or emoticons or whatever, and you know, clap or thumbs up or whatever when you agree with something. That really helps us move efficiently as a group. So, and then lastly, if everybody adds their affiliation to their name, then that will help us get to know each other just a little bit better, because it's hard to get to know one another in this remote setting. So I guess that's kind of my introductory remarks. Let's go around the virtual room as we do the roll call, and just say your name, your affiliation, and then I don't know, a couple of words about it. You're interested in code as well, but you know, keep it to 30 seconds or less. So Krista, do you want to do kind of go around the room roll call?
Sure. Let me find the roll minute.
And my name is Chell Anderson. It's pronounced like a CH at the beginning, like cello, without the O. And I work at Element Architects in Seattle, and I'm the director of sustainable design for that group. And I'm on the Building Code Council, and then also the chair of the MVE Committee, Mechanical Ventilation Energy Committee, and this group, the Energy Code Tag.
Okay, Mike Fowler.
Hey, good morning. Mike Fowler. I represent AIA Washington, the architects. And I don't know, I got interested in codes back in 2006. And so was on the tag in 2006, 9, I think maybe 12, but then off in 15, and then came back in 2018, and I'm back again. So happy to be back. Looking forward to working with everyone.
Scott Henderson. Mike McGivern.
Mike McGivern, City of Kirkland Electrical Building Inspector, was asked to represent the Washington Association of officials.
Chris Holliday. And then we have Wade Craig as an alternate. Dwayne Johnlin.
Yeah, Dwayne Johnlin, City of Seattle Energy Code Advisor, and I'm here because I'm excited to learn all about energy codes.
Lisa Rosenow.
Hi, this is Lisa Rosenow. I'm with a company called Evergreen Technology Consulting, or ETC for short. And what we provide is tech support for the commercial provisions of the Washington State Energy Code. This is my third code cycle now. I'm excited to be a part of the process as usual. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what the tag comes up with regards to code advancement this cycle.
And Henry Odom is Lisa's alternate.
Hi there, I'm Henry Odom. I work with Ecotope as a mechanical engineer. Most recently, I led a modeling study for the State Building Code Council to develop a 2006 baseline for the commercial and residential energy codes, as well as model the 2018 code to gauge our progress towards our 70% goals. So excited to be on here. Thanks.
Eric Bedell. Sorry if I screw up the pronunciation on that.
No, that's perfect. My name is Eric Bedell. I'm with GLY Construction, mechanical engineer. I'm GLY's MEP specialist. Been working via the energy codes, I guess, for the last 7 years on a lot of high profile projects, especially in the city of Seattle, Bellevue and Redmond. Really looking forward to be part of this team.
David Reddy.
Hi, this is David Reddy with Brian 360. This, I guess, will be my second opportunity to join you all on the tag, and excited to do that. And my background is primarily in doing energy analysis for different applications, supporting teams trying to design better buildings, and also supporting Henry on the study that he mentioned, and also working on development of a tool called CBAC-COM for building performance-based compliance in California.
And Michael Baranek is David's alternate.
I was just in a meeting with Michael, so I'm not sure if I know that goes till 9 o'clock.
Okay, yeah, Gary Heikkinen is also not available until 9 o'clock. Amy Wheelis.
Hey everyone, my name is Amy Wheelis. I'm with the Northwest Energy Coalition, sitting in the public interest seat this round, and I sat in on the energy. I did the energy code tag last cycle as well.
And Poppy Storm is Amy's alternate.
Hi, yeah, this is Poppy Storm with 2050 Institute. I work on building decarbonization policy and research and analysis, and I've been involved in the code development process for a couple cycles now, but I was only on the tag for the first time in 2000 for the 2018 code cycle for RES. So I'm excited to be having an opportunity to focus on commercial and keeping things on track.
CJ Brockway.
My name is CJ Brockway, and I'm a lighting designer with Spark Lab. I am involved in the tag from the perspective of quality of light issues, working with architects and engineers on projects and energy considerations. And my alternate is Andrew Poltorek, who is not able to join us today.
Sean Vig.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Sean Vig with Mitsubishi Electric Train US. I'm here as a representative manufacturer, and this is my first code cycle. So I'm here to learn more about code cycle and codes in general. Thanks.
Alan Montpelier.
Morning, everybody. Alan Montpelier with PAE and mechanical engineer background. I've supported some tags previously informally. This is my first formal contribution, so hopefully I can help out. Thanks.
And Elizabeth Joyce is Alan's alternate.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Joyce. I'm a mechanical engineer and sustainability consultant with Arup. We're an engineering consulting firm in Seattle. And I've done a good bit of code development work in California, but relatively new to the Washington context. So excited to get involved here.
And Eric Ullman.
Hi, Eric Olnon with McDonald Miller Facility Solutions. I am a mechanical engineer, and this is my first tag. And I've just been digesting the 2018 code to our engineering department. So excited to see how the 2021 code cycle changes.
And Gavin Tenold.
Hi, I'm Gavin Tenold, representing the Washington Solar Energy Industries Association. Professionally, I run a company in Spokane called Northwest Renewables. We do all things electrification, from solar to heat pumps to EV chargers. And I guess I got into codes when I started studying to become a passive house consultant in 2010.
And John Lang is Gavin's alternate.
Yep. Hello, John Lang here. Just the alternate for Gavin, also a board member on the Washington Solar Energy Industry Association. Obviously, we think that solar energy is a part of the future for energy in the state, and just this is my first time on a tag, and so I'm looking to just learn and help out where possible.
Patrick Hayes. I thought I saw him on earlier.
It looks like he's muted.
Why don't we come back to him?
Luke Howard.
Good morning, Luke Howard, Washington State Department of Commerce. This is my first opportunity to represent on the tag as a member. Been with Commerce for a year, but previously contributed to code development, energy code development, while I was at WSU Energy Program.
And Bill Kraus is Luke's alternate. And those are all the filled positions on the commercial energy code tag.
Great, thanks, Krista. And great to see such a wide range of experience and interest on this. I think Eric brought up a really good point, which is that the 2018 code is just beginning to be used now. So, this tag is extremely eager to learn about how that's working. And today's not the day to bring up all those comments, but once we get to the reviewing the proposals in May and June or July, it'd be great to hear those stories about how the 2018 code is working for the practitioners out there that are implementing it. So I guess lastly, Krista, can you briefly walk us through what motions would need to be made today, or if we're simply providing suggestions and we'll make a motion at the end of the 2 days of tags?
Well, we're just going through and correcting my document, making sure I've got everything where it should be, and I haven't included stuff that somehow conflicts with our standing state amendments. And it's pretty much up to the chair as to whether you want to make motions as we change things going through, or if there's a fairly good consensus on things, just waiting until the end of a section or chapter and making the motion.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll take that on. Great, and I guess for overall schedule and process, we are having probably 2 meetings, this tag is, in the next few weeks. And then staff will publish what we come up with, and it will go to the MV committee and the Sustainability Code Council And then it will be out for public comment for all the proposals for some length of time, which could be a month or 2 months or something like that. And after that, we're collecting all the proposals that will go into the 2021 commercial energy code. And then this group will review all those proposals, and there probably will be over 100. So that's the general timeline. Is that correct, Krista?
Yeah, this tag will be doing their first report out at the March 18th Mechanical Ventilation and Energy Code Committee meeting. So we've got kind of a tight timeline, and I apologize for that. I didn't get a finalized copy of the IECC until the end of February. So it kind of put me in a time crunch and put us all in a time crunch in getting this reviewed and out so we can set the base code and start looking at a timeline for submittal of code change proposals.
Yeah.
And right now we're running about 2 months behind. And we're hoping that at the March 19th meeting, the council will be able to set that deadline for the proposals.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it from the tag running these 5-hour, 4-hour, 5-hour proposal consideration meetings from having that run too far into July, which is when people start taking vacations and it's hard to get a quorum. So we're going to work on that. Okay, well, I guess without further ado, let's dive into the code. And Krista, do you want to lead us through? Oh, Lisa's raising her hand. Lisa.
Hi, good morning. So just a quick procedural question. So we have a lot to cover today, obviously, in this meeting and in the next meeting to get through the integrated draft. And I'm sure we'll catch a lot of details. However, as we're getting into the weeds down the road, and more editorial things will likely reveal themselves as we're doing this. And so what's the procedure for any editorial observations that the tag has after the March 18th date?
Lisa, you can go ahead and just email those to me, and I'll make a determination of whether it needs to go before the tag again, or if it's just strictly, oops, my bad.
Sure. Yeah, mainly just to find out, okay, does this have to become then, at what point does it have to be a code change proposal versus we're still in the editorial process? That's the gist of the question.
Yeah. Yeah, just contact me and I can give you my opinion. Sometimes I'll consult with Chell and see. If I'm unsure, my base position is usually, well, just write it up as a code change proposal and everybody's safe.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, just following on that, we are all encouraged to make great code change proposals. So as we go through this in detail, think of what would make a better code, a clearer code, a more enforceable code, and a more code that would lead us to our 70% energy reduction. All right, Krista. And Lisa, can you lower your hand if you're done?
My first comment is actually one that didn't get noted on the copy that I sent out to everybody. And this isn't something that really needs to be done right now. It's just something we need to consider. When we went through the whole delaying the implementation date and reinserting it and all that, the energy code was the one code that didn't have an implementation date within the body of the code. And we've been asked to put in a section now that has that implementation date. And the other codes have a special section that's outside of the regular chapter numbering to do that, or we could possibly just integrate it into the scope and administration section in 101 somehow, but that's something to think about. And I gave you a couple of examples of how it could be done there in the notes, if you can read that on the small screens. But this would be similar to the 003 and 008 sections in all the other model coded options. And the first,
is that something we should talk about today, or is that something that should be a code change proposal?
I don't think it needs to go to a code change proposal because it's not actually, not really a code change. It's just adding more information. And we can talk about it today if you'd like, or.
Well, I think the goal right now is for it to be effective on July 1, 2023. So that seems like a very reasonable thing to add to the administrative section, to the general section.
Mike, as the.
Lisa, go ahead.
Hi, one more comment question. And again, this is just for the benefit of the TAG members who haven't, this is their first time. Would you like to, can you describe kind of the goal, the state's goal with regards to this, you know, with regards to backsliding and things like that? I just think that would be helpful for the committee members as we get started.
Yeah, Krista, do you want to cover that? Do you want me to?
Sure, I can attempt to address that. So our operating statute, which is RCW 1927A, has a provision that we can modify and adopt new energy codes as long as they are more stringent than the previous requirements. So we need to monitor everything and make sure that any language we adopt coming in from the International Energy Conservation Code is as stringent as what we currently have or is more stringent. So that's kind of the first filter. And then we have existing state amendments, and we also want to make sure that anything that we're bringing in doesn't conflict with a standing state amendment, and we either need to modify the ICC language or the state amendment to accommodate that. Does that cover your question or comment, Lisa?
Yes, that's very helpful. Thank you.
So moving on to section 102. There were some minor changes to this to make the codes consistent in the administrative portions. It doesn't really do a lot to the energy code itself. They did add energy conservation in as one of the goals of the code. And this just allows digital submissions.
So I guess silence in this case means nobody has a concern with the change that we've all gone through. Just to make it clear.
And then specifying that the construction document should include which energy compliance path is being taken. There was a slight change in the ICC language on air barriers, and I've provided both the ICC language and the current WSEC language. I'm kind of assuming we would continue with the current language, but if people prefer the ICC language, we can go that direction as well.
So can we make those determinations as we're going along right now today?
That would be my assumption.
I'd hope we would do that.
I would say keep the Washington language.
I agree with that as well. Does anybody have any thumbs ups or is there a completely disagree? Oh no, yeah, there's a yes, there's a no. And it's not a vote, it's just, okay, yeah. I think keeping the Washington one includes the areas which is not included in the IECC language. So I agree with Dwayne's suggestion. And we get some thumbs up and some yeses, so.
And this is just a relocation. Fees got moved up from its previous location, which then bounced down inspections. Inspections did get divided into two different sections, and there's now a new notice of approval section that takes the place of two previous subsections of inspections. And these are just the relocation stuff. Stop work order, again, there's changes just to make it consistent between the model codes. And it's pretty much just editorial.
Lisa, did you have a question? You chatted something. Okay.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Actually, this is back, I forget which section it was, when it refers to the energy compliance path. My only question on that one is that in reference to section C401, or is it in reference to the compliance path, you know, by discipline, like prescriptive versus upon performance, that kind of thing? Do you know?
This was prescriptive versus performance.
Okay. Yeah, so
that was my understanding.
Okay, so C401, the two choices. Okay, thank you.
That could be more explicit in here, and I had that confusion as well. As if we're saying energy compliance path, how are we naming them such that people know what to put in here? And I could say energy compliance path per C401 or something like that. That might be clearer. Is that something that you would agree with, Lisa?
Yeah, I think that would be will provide some clarity.
Actually, I should be using track changes here. So above grade wall definition took out the word basement from basement knee walls and just called them knee walls. So sorry, clock in the background. 2 definitions were added for biogas and biomass to coordinate with language coming up in another change in, it looks like C406. So if we determine that we don't want to adopt any part of the IECC C406, there's really no need to have these 2 definitions, but they don't hurt anything.
So just to be clear, Krista, when it says reason, is that the reason that's copied directly from the IECC rationale, or is that your editorial?
It is copied from the original code change proposal at ICC. It is somewhat modified just to, take out a few words here and there to shrink it down. Some of them are several paragraphs long.
Okay, thanks.
But that's what it's based on. And the new definition for computer room is roughly matching what we had as our state amendment with a couple of clarifications and SI conversion. Same with data center and data center systems. Well, data center anyway. Data center systems is a little bit different. So
we have a choice here, right?
Yeah.
Krista? Anybody have an opinion?
ICC is a little more specific than the Washington State Code.
Lewis?
Yeah, and maybe Mike Kennedy can chime in this one, but we spent quite a bit of time on the data center last time, specifically for Washington State. The proposal that went forward to ICC came from Washington State. So I think it might be better to leave the Washington State language, but I think Mike Kennedy would have a good purview of this.
Mike?
Mike here. I would like to research this offline and come back next time with it. I'm wary of the electrical systems because I know that the proponent was very specific that electrical systems should be in there. And that relates to the content of 90.4.
Okay, so we can come back
In
to
that
it.
one, we refer to another definition, information technology equipment, that is more kind of clarifies things, right, for what a data center is.
I'm sorry, Dwayne, I didn't follow that.
Okay, well, let's take this offline because the data center and data center systems interact. And there's a third thing, that the information technology equipment, that's another defined term elsewhere that works with these.
Okay, so we'll come back to this next time. And Lewis, did that answer your question? Can you lower your hand if it did?
Yes, I'm having a hard time lowering my hand, but I'll work on it.
All right.
And demand recirculation water system had quite a rewrite here. And this was previously a state amendment to try to make it more consistent with what actually happened. So I'm not sure what route you would like to take on this. Their rationale was to make it consistent with the IPC, which we don't adopt. So consistency isn't really a high goal on this.
Lisa.
It's kind of a weeds question, Krista, but so for details like this one, where the language is also resides in the R code, is that something that we're going to be keeping track of during this process, or are these things that are going to be just flagged and then coordinated when the residential committee gets together? Because some of these things like this they're identical. So if we make any changes in the commercial code, then it would make sense to make sure those get picked up over in residential.
I will certainly try my hardest to make sure those are coordinated. Hopefully that was done at the ICC level as well. So when we come up against the residential code integrated draft, it should be there. And if not, we can make sure it gets added.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so I guess we have a choice here. I find the revised language to be a little bit less clear. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but it doesn't include the word recirculation or recirculated. Maybe it's more clear to many people, but it's less clear to me.
I agree with you, Chell. This is not as good. I would suggest that we return to the Washington language.
Okay, hearing no other voices and seeing no other raised hands, let's do that. And I'm going to make a note in my copy of the residential code that we kept the language.
Okay, and there's a new definition for direct digital control. A new definition for enthalpy recovery ratio. And I don't know if you'll want to revisit that after we actually go through section C403. That I guess would be consistent with a lot of these definitions. They may need to be revised after we look at the referencing section. A bunch of new fan system definitions.
Sorry, Lewis has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed that. Are we going to revisit these? Like that enthalpy recovery ratio will be probably pretty important for the DOAS section. Are we going to get a chance to go back and take a look at these, or are we making a decision on them now?
I think we can come back and take a look at it later.
Okay.
So when we meet again, we can revisit any of the stuff we covered today if necessary.
Oh,
so
yeah, I like that.
You know,
okay.
Ideally, you would make a note, or when we get to that, I guess we'll automatically come back to it.
Yeah.
If you bring it up.
I mean, I would generally say most of this stuff where we you can kind of see anything that deals with some of the proportion or the code provisions that deal with Washington State. Anytime the definitions or anything changing, like the data centers is a good example. But then this things with heat recovery or DOAS systems, those are going to be pretty hot topics, and there was a lot of time spent in previous tags covering that. So, but if we get time back, we'll spend time focusing on that. We can bring it back for discussion later.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
So the fan system got pretty extensively reworked, and they did consistently go through and change everything from the fan efficiency grade to fan efficiency or fan energy index. But for some reason, the original proposal had left in the fan efficiency grade definition, but it looks like ICC in their cleanup took that one out too. So I'm assuming that's no longer necessary. And it went away with the adoption of the fan energy index.
Eric has a question or comment.
So fan array, it says multiple fans in parallel. Are they in parallel all the time in fan arrays?
Yes, it's like, I think the other word we use for it is fan wall.
Yeah. Can you just expand on the definition though, what you mean by in parallel between
That-
two plenum sections? Parallel.
That means that there's a dozen or 20 of these smaller fans instead of one big one, and they're all pointed in the same direction. They're all moving from one side, from one space to another space, and you can turn on one of them or 5 of them or all of them at any one time.
Yeah, and they're not in sequence. They're not like
They're
one
not
fan
in
blows
series.
out another fan, but they're
Okay, I see. Yeah, all right. That's where I was getting hung up. So it's not a series. Okay. I'll take down that raise hand.
cool. Thanks.
And a new definition for fault detection and diagnostics. So the fenestration definition for skylights now includes greenhouses.
Luke has a question or comment.
Yeah, Krista, could you scroll back up to the fan definitions? There was a spelling error in fan energy index. There you go.
Thank you.
You're not called the technical advisory group for nothing. It's Luke.
Sorry, I figured we get it now.
So the definition for general lighting looped in a requirement that we're specifically talking about interior lighting and general lighting. The greenhouse definition is pretty much in line with our current state amendment now. Just a minor editorial change.
Luke, can you lower your hand, or do you have a question? Amy, go ahead.
Yeah, Krista, can you scroll up a little bit? Yeah, there it is, skylights. I just saw greenhouses was added. Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was made sense. Thanks.
And the ITE definition is pretty much the same as the current state definition. It's just reformatted to match the ICC format a little better. A new definition for internal curtain systems for greenhouses. And there's a new section in the fan section for large diameter ceiling fans now. So there's a definition included. Some editorial changes to networked guest room control systems.
Gavin has a question. Go ahead, Gavin.
Jill, I was wanting to comment on-site renewable energy. I pushed that button a little too early. Sorry.
Just fine. We're there.
Are we there? Yeah. So, Kristen, my understanding that the part that has been crossed out is what had been in our code, and the part that is highlighted is what's in our code now, or what's in the.
It's what's in the ICC code that we're looking at including in the 2021 code.
So the crossed out portion is the 2018 Washington State Energy Code. And the kind of pink underlined section is the IECC 2018 or 2021.
I sure prefer, I like that Washington State language better. Just wanted to comment on that. And I think my logic is just it's two renewable energy resources. I think we're opening up a unclear definition there that could turn into.
Just to jump in there, there is a definition for renewable energy resources added later.
So there's a further on in the R's here?
Yep.
So is this list basically the same list that was in the previous definition?
Looks pretty much like it, yeah.
You just have to look at two definitions now instead of one.
Does that address your concern, Gavin?
Well, I guess I'm wondering, is there any, I haven't read it carefully enough. Does it have the original sources of energy there? Or is there anything missing?
Looks like landfill gas wasn't included in the second definition. Unless it's assumed that that's just a part of biogas.
That was my assumption, but if others have other thoughts.
Biogas to me is something that you're doing in like a digester. Landfill gas is another thing entirely, but I'm not a biodigester guy.
Lewis or Dwayne, I think you raised your hand before, Lewis.
Yeah, I think one important difference is I think that in the renewable energy resources, we just at the I-code level, we decided not to include biomass. Just because the typical building doesn't have enough biomass on site to supply its own energy resources in perpetuity.
Yeah, like you'd need, 2 acres of forest maybe, or 1 acre, or something like that in order to actually consider it a renewable resource.
Well, in order to harvest it on site.
Yep.
And so I thought that was actually a good change. I'm in favor of the new.
Okay, perfect. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Someone needs to can we mute that person?
Got him.
All right.
Someone like your idea, Dwayne. I was just going to say my preference. Well, obviously, I think with Washington codes and definitions, there's it tends to be a very specific to Washington State, and so I think at the IECC level, things tend to get opened a lot, and there's not always great. Some of these definitions get a pretty broad interpretation. A lot of things get thrown in there. So, as a rule, I would say my tendency would be to stick with the Washington State stuff on this stuff for the base document. But I'll just say that's just my opinion.
just as a note, we did not have a state amendment to this definition previously.
Right, and that's why I'm thinking it might be a code change as opposed to, but I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess it's open for debate.
And I was apparently wrong. The renewable energy resources final one did include biomass. Sorry about that.
So the differences are they both say solar radiation, they both say wind, they both say waves, they both say tides. Biogas is different. Biogas is in the renewable energy definition, but it was called landfill gas was in the previous definition, but not in the new definition. Biogas is in both, biomass is in both, and then there's a slight difference between the internal heat of the earth versus hot fluid or steam from the earth. So the main difference is landfill gas.
And that is a type of biogas.
Okay. So essentially there's no functional difference between the two, is that?
Dwayne, I would disagree with that if you look at the definition of biogas. I mean, is a landfill an anaerobic digestion of organic matter? Maybe, but maybe not.
Yeah, that's where the landfill gas comes from.
Go ahead, Lewis. I think you raised your hand first. Okay, Gary. And welcome, Gary.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you. The very last sentence of biomass does say, including gases and liquids recovered from the decomposition of non-fossilized and biodegradable organic matter. Wouldn't that cover landfill gas? Doesn't say so specifically, but it would seem like landfill gas kind of falls into that one.
To me, it would appear to.
So maybe we're okay here.
Yeah, I think that seems right.
So if that's the case, then the new definition is acceptable, seems to be acceptable based on the comments I've heard, because it does include the biogas. Previously, it's just you have to look at other definitions in order to do so. Does that make sense?
He has questions there in the chat.
Dwayne.
I just wanted to point out that one of our other usual objectives here is to minimize the differences between the national standard and our Washington code. So here's a situation where, without really changing anything fundamentally in the meaning, we can align ourselves with the IECC.
I agree. Lisa?
I'm going to second what Dwayne just said about, aligning with the IECC, and also if those other definitions do remain, then I think technically the words renewable energy resources is a definition. So it would be in italicized words. So we've got a definition inside of a definition. But that would be the case there, I believe. That way folks know as they're reading this definition that there are other places to look for additional information, which could help, the discussion we just had.
Okay, so it seems like moving forward with the revised IECC definition is generally agreed upon. Amy had a comment that biomass energy is defined in statute. And Amy, are you saying that that's defined differently than we're defining it here in the definitions of the energy code?
I would have to read it more closely and probably take some time offline to do that. But I think my more philosophical question was, do we ever try to align definitions in the code here with other places it might exist in Washington law?
It seems like if it didn't functionally change a whole lot, that would be great to do so that it's not confusion between one and the other.
Yeah, though I get, trying to be consistent where it makes sense with the IECC is also, a good policy objective as well.
Okay, well, I'll suggest that we move forward with the IECC definitions as written, and we can revisit this later as we get through the rest of the code. Is there general disagreement with that? Any disagreement with that? Good discussion. Krista, you might be muted if you're talking.
No, not talking, just pausing.
Okay.
So, new definition, testing unit enclosure area. So this goes back into the air barrier stuff. So we might want to look at this after we review the changes to the air barrier section. And a new definition for thermal distribution efficiency.
Lisa, do you have a question? Comment? Okay, we can move on. Mike Kennedy has something. Go for it, Mike.
I thought this was going to be down on vertical fenestration, but in the definition of, well, it's up in fenestration, a sub item is vertical fenestration. There's a typo, and so I don't know if this is proper to deal with this now. There's an error in the Washington 2018 code there where doors with no more than 50% glass are considered vertical fenestration. And I think that should be with more than 50%.
That's correct.
Or 50% or more, either way.
Great. Okay, and then Alan brought up a spelling typo in TDE. And Mike, did that answer your question? Can you lower your hand if it did?
Oh, yeah.
We're all trying to
still got training wheels on.
Yeah, I think we'll have that for a while. This is kind of a new format for tags, and it's takes some getting used to.
A new definition for vegetative roof, but it's in a section that we don't, or applies to a section that we don't adopt in Washington for solar reflectance. So whether it's adopted or not is up in the air.
Wayne.
I would suggest that we not clutter our code with definitions that don't relate to anything in the code.
I agree. Does anybody want to use a emoticon to say how much they like that idea? All right. Cool. All right.
I have no real opinion on it, but if somebody did want to bring something forward on this, you might just leave it here for now.
I think if there's a proponent that wants to bring the SRI thing forward or some other thing, they can find the definition.
Okay.
And then we could adopt it at that time as part of their code proposal.
So just a slight change to visible transmittance annual.
And I'm assuming this better aligns with NFRC criteria or something like that.
Well, the last sentence is the only part that's the Washington State Amendment.
The definition is fine, and it's in line with the glass industry, and the number is between 0 and 1.
Thanks, Patrick, and welcome.
Yeah.
All right.
I had to switch computers. I had a new one, and I don't have the mic set up right.
So there's a change to the definition for wall. And I'm not sure why they put basement back in on knee walls for this one, but above grade wall doesn't include the word basement. It's
2 code cycles ago, or at least 1 code cycle ago, we had a great definition which seems to have vaporized. And that definition was, we had one definition for below grade wall, and then the above grade wall definition was from top of floor insulation to bottom of roof insulation, meaning everything in between there is wall, and it was golden. This has a whole bunch of stuff in there, but it doesn't exactly say that. Then we should add that. And I don't have my old code books in this office, but if I was in my other office, I could put my finger right on it.
That sounds like a code change proposal that is just waiting to happen, Patrick. So.
Oh, really? All that extra paperwork, Joe?
Dwayne.
Now I have to start making a list.
I think this looks good. It's pretty clear overall.
Okay. I think we can move on. I don't hear general disagreement or any much disagreement. CJ.
On my list. I put it on my list.
Yeah, I just noticed something that looks like a typo back. Sorry, I'm getting myself cut up to speed to how to make sure this works. Back up in the area that says low voltage lighting, back to the L's, if you scroll back up, it looks like the definition for luminaire, there just needs to be a carriage return. It looks like it's just added on to low volt. There you go. Thank you.
Thanks, CJ.
That's it for the definitions.
Woohoo, we are almost 10% the way through the 211 pages of the code.
And there was a new climate zone introduced for Washington. We've got 4C, 5B, and 5C. So you've now got 2 marine zones and a dry zone, which there are some requirements within the code that has a difference between 4C and 5C requirements and 5B and 5C requirements. So this does have some code impacts. Some further detail added to the insulation mark installation. On just how you mark items that don't have a printed mark.
Dwayne.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time. I'm looking at the IECC climate zone map, and I'm not seeing that 5C. But I wonder if this is appropriate to treat the same way we treated our friends up in the upper right-hand corner in Zone 6, that we made them honorary members of 5B. Do we really want to have a new climate zone for, what is it, San Juan and Kitsap and Clallam? So it's funny because I'm looking at this map and I don't see it at all here.
So it says consistency with ASHRAE 169.
Well, yeah, it would be my question to the tag is, do we want to or see a need to introduce this new climate zone, which I think, Mike Kennedy, when you looked at this, didn't you find that there's only a couple tiny differences between 4C and 5C?
Mike Kennedy?
Sorry, there's different exhaust air heat recovery thresholds, a different MLC, a slightly lower MLC requirement for data centers, and there's some impact in a new heat recovery section for healthcare, which we may or may not adopt. And then also, depending on which version of 406 we adopt, if we chose the IECC version, it has a 5C as well.
So I'm thinking that there is a real parallel with the other thing with Zone 6 is that these are fairly small populations in these in those 4 counties, and in the spirit of keeping things less complicated, I'd suggest that we not take on this Zone 5C. Does anybody see a reason to take it?
Mike Fowler was the next person to raise their hand.
I had similar thoughts to what Dwayne was just mentioning. And what I was also trying to recall, is there still a state statute that we have? The state statute says we have 2 climate zones in Washington. I mean, I couldn't recall if it was part of why we moved 6B into 5B. And then also just to agree with Dwayne, my thought was just saying let's maintain or move 5C back to 4C.
And yes, that is still
agree.
law.
I agree totally. And just for example, like the population of Grant County, which is a large county, is only 40,000 people. And I think these are even smaller. Well, Kitsap is not, but Clallam.
Hey Patrick, I think you joined a little bit late. We're doing the raise hand feature in Zoom just to keep it this a bit more orderly. So if you could do that when you have a comment, that'd be great. Lisa.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, I agree with Dwayne on this one. However, I think it would be helpful, and Mike, thanks for that quick summary. I think it'd be helpful to take a look at the provisions that this is associated with, and to make sure, whether we adopt it or not, does that introduce any reduction in stringency, right? By saying, it sounded like, Mike, that maybe one of them, energy recovery efficiency requirement might be a little lower or something like that. So,
Oh, yeah, in all those areas, actually 5C had slightly more stringent requirements than 4C.
oh, I had more stringent requirements. Okay. All right, then I guess that kind of counters my point. But I will agree that, you know, adding more climate zones definitely adds additional complexity, I guess.
Okay, Amy.
I just copied the statute into here, and it seems pretty clear that we have 2 climate zones. And the assignment of a county to a climate zone may not be changed by adoption of a model code or rule.
Okay, so we have 2, but we can't move backwards. So I guess how do we move forwards?
Well, we wouldn't be moving backwards. We just wouldn't be changing anything.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so Lisa, did you have another comment, Lisa?
Sorry, I had to unmute. I think the point that Mike was making is that the model code actually has a more stringent requirement for energy efficiency in these 3 zones or 4 counties. I mean, so we probably have to deal with that somehow, because if we don't adopt this, then does that mean that we're less stringent in this particular case than the model code?
Yeah, I think that's an important question. And my understanding from what Krista just said is it wouldn't go back. It would be less stringent than IECC 2021, but our legislative mandate is not to be worse than the 2018 Washington State Energy Code. So it would be acceptable to do that. Is that correct interpretation, Krista?
That was my thinking.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike Fowler.
I was just going to comment that we did in the past move the 3 or 4 counties in 6B to 5B. And then I just saw Mike Kennedy's comment, we could move 4C to 5C, but in that same thought process, would that mean we would also move 5B to 6B? So I was more making a point for staying with the, let's move the 4 counties 5C to 4C.
It seems like we're moving towards not including this new climate zone. So Crystal Road do not adopt. And I'm getting a general consensus that that's what we'd like to do. However, we can always revisit this as we go through code, the rest of the code, because we will see areas where in this integrated draft 5C requirements are added. So does that seem like an acceptable path forward? All right. Okay, let's move forward with that assumption.
So were there any comments on the insulation mark? And the fenestration product writing, just some additional clarification on tubular daylighting devices. And that's consistent with our current state amendments. And that brings us to chapter 4. And C401.2 was changed around quite a bit. And I'm hoping I caught all of the sections and coordinated them with the Washington State sections. The total building performance path now includes the ICC version, includes the table for mandatory provisions that are code introduced last time. And the application to existing buildings has been changed into an exception rather than a subsection on this one.
Wayne.
I have a question on item 1, where this addition says that your dwelling units in an R2 building are okay if they comply with the residential code additional efficiency credits, R406. Is that, I'm having a hard time understanding whether that's a positive or negative impact on energy efficiency.
I may have the wrong section reference there.
In the IECC, C406 is an energy index, whole building energy index.
Yeah, which we don't adopt currently.
Which we don't, right.
So I think that sentence should be stricken.
I guess I agree with Dwayne in that if I read this in a certain way, it would suggest that R2 dwelling units only need to comply with R406 and that's it. And they wouldn't need to comply with any other section of the code. I guess, is that how you would read it, Dwayne?
Yeah, it seems to say that, and if it's actually referencing a section that we don't adopt, then it's a good thing not to have.
Yeah. Okay, is that Mike Kennedy?
Yeah.
You have your hand up.
That's good. Oh, okay. Let me look at my comment. I just wanted to make a comment. I think the change, deleting or changing the application to existing buildings to an exception from a requirement. I have a feeling that means that it's going to allow buildings, additions, alterations, etc., to do outcome-based codes. And I'm not sure I didn't actually go look at Appendix F, but I think there is something to look at there in terms of what that actually does for jurisdictions that have adopted Appendix F. It's an exception, but they can do it.
So I guess we'll go through Chapter 5 in the fullness of time. So maybe we cover it at that point, or are you?
And Appendix F is a Washington State appendix and not an IECC appendix.
Right. I think this is not critical. It's going to be something that maybe has to be addressed in Appendix F later. So.
Okay, this does list mandatory requirements under Appendix F. I guess we'll get this. Yeah, okay, we'll get to this when we get to Appendix F. Dwayne? Dwayne, your hand is up and you're on mute.
Sorry, I left it up.
Okay, Gavin.
Yeah, I just wanted to, are we deleting the section about R406 for, this is group R2 multifamily buildings that don't have, for example, mixed use spaces down below. Am I understanding that correctly?
So the residential code would cover some R2 buildings that are 3 stories and less and some other criteria. The commercial code would cover ones that are part of larger buildings, perhaps. So what we've stricken seems to be a unclear way of allowing them to comply with some other section. Not sure where it came from or how applicable it would be to our code.
Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Mike Fowler.
Concerned about the exception where it says additions. And I thought additions must comply with the new energy code and not the existing chapter 5. So I was concerned about that. And I also don't think that this has anything applicable to Appendix F at all. So I think it's, I think the intent of what the 2021 IECC was trying to do was say there's an exception to the entirety of all of 401.2, not just subsection 3. I think they were trying to apply it to 1, 2, and 3. And I'm still concerned about it. The fact that it just says additions. So it just doesn't seem like that. An addition would be allowed to have a lower compliance threshold to match the existing building.
Gavin, do you still have a question? Your hand is up.
Sorry about that.
We're all learning.
And just to clarify, yes, the exception is to section C401.2 and not just to item 3. It just doesn't show very well when you're striking out language and putting in new language.
I do think that Mike Feller's comment that additions is substantially different than what was stricken in C401.2.1, or the exception rather. Mike Kennedy.
Yeah, it was my impression. I guess I just wanted to say, I think chapter 5 says they have to comply with the new building code mostly. It just clarifies that some of the things don't. I mean, like I think infiltration stuff doesn't apply. So there are a lot of changes to the addition section. So that would be a concern there, is how additions lands. But I'm not sure it would be backing up of a requirement. In terms of Appendix X, Appendix F, my comment was just that because this is an exception, these buildings would have the option of doing any of 1, 2, or 3 instead of doing chapter 5. So they could choose to do outcome-based energy budget. And I don't even know what that means. So, but probably no one will, so.
Okay, I just looked up chapter 5, and chapter 5 does specifically apply to additions. So I think the change in here is fine with me. Anybody else have, Lisa?
Yeah, I think that the part that's catching my eye, and again, it may be just fine, but is the fact that it's referred to as an exception, because it is kind of circular to your point. Addition says it has to comply with all the same requirements as new construction. And then also under alterations, so like change in space conditioning, change in occupancy, they have alternative paths that allow, total building performance, that kind of thing. So it's a little bit circular. So I think it's just having this being shown as an exception is kind of just tripping language to me. It seems like just application to existing buildings was a lot clearer. Just my initial thought on that.
You, Mike Kennedy.
Sorry, I didn't take down my hand.
Okay. Okay, so the inclusion of additions does make it a bit circular because additions under chapter 5 require you to go back to C401 point various other subsections. So I guess, do we feel that if it's an exception in its own pathway, but that pathway then also requires other thing under C401, is that so circular that people will be confused or building officials will be confused?
I'll just chime in that I think it really is the word exception that, if perhaps if we just kept it as application to existing buildings, but kept the edit, that might be a little clearer.
Anyone who want to use some emoticons in support or denial of that idea? Okay, I like that idea as well. So, I mean, the titles of sections are not actual code language, is what I've heard from people. But I agree that calling it application of existing buildings is better than calling it an exception. Because actually, if you call it an exception, then it is code language. So, okay, let's use the new language, but the old title. And it is 10 o'clock, so I'm thinking at some point we need to take a bio break, refill our coffee, etc. Maybe at 10:30 we do so. Here's my timer telling me we should take a bio break. Why don't we soldier on for another half an hour and then take a 5-minute break.
Okay, there's a new requirement here to add a thermal envelope certificate. This is very similar to what we did for the residential side. There's a minor tweak on the greenhouse section. So ICC added very similar language based on our language, except for they replaced non-opaque envelope with fenestration. And some minor changes in the wording of the envelope that go with that.
That's much better.
Mike Kennedy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and I kind of like the simplicity, but it is a decrease in efficiency since you're allowing north surfaces to go with the 0.7 instead of 0.6. But the simplicity is nice, so.
Lisa.
Yeah, actually 2 comments. So for this, I would agree with Mike that it is a step back. And so, we could say, vertical fenestration southeast and west, and then vertical fenestration north. That way we would maintain the existing stringency. It would be a step back. And then I was going to say, while we have the floor, I have a comment about the equipment building section as well, which is, so this is technically a decrease in stringency, and the vast majority of these buildings are permitted through L&I, and so this is one where perhaps it would be advisable to consult L&I about this particular change.
Okay, that sounds, who are you suggesting that, does somebody have a connection at LNI that they could get more informed about this through?
Yeah, we could reach out to L&I. It would be Craig Sedlak or Kelly Mayo, either one. Just let them know about it and find out if they just have an opinion one way or the other about this one.
Okay, are you volunteering?
Sure.
That sounds great.
I'll send a quick email to Kelly and Craig today.
Sounds great. Dwayne.
Well, as to that point right there, this is a decrease in stringency and we should not put it in there. Because we're saying instead of just 500 square foot and smaller buildings are exempt, now we're saying 1,200 square foot. So this should be somebody's code change proposal and not in the integrated draft, is one thing. Regarding the fenestration right above, we don't have a separate U value currently for north fenestration, right?
Yes.
Go ahead. I think we have a different solar heat gain coefficient, right, for non-north?
Yeah, but this is about U values, and so we're not backtracking. In effect, are we matching this to the current Washington State U values somehow? Or are we just putting in? It looks to me like we're putting like that 0.7 is higher than anything we allow now.
Well, these were actually modeled values, based on greenhouse assembly types.
Wait.
So it isn't fenestration, right? It's a different product.
Okay.
Yeah. So these were this code change proposal was pretty thoroughly evaluated based on actual products available in the marketplace for greenhouses.
Okay.
Eric, Lacey.
Hey, thank you. I'm not a member of the TAG, but I just wanted to mention here before I go too far on this. I don't think it's appropriate to put orientation, different U factors for different orientations. That's something that has been applied to SHGCs in the past, but typically I don't think I've ever seen that before. Having a different U factor applied, even as an upper limit to southeast west versus north. Is this in the current Washington State Energy Code?
Yes.
Okay.
So to the point where we don't go backwards, it sounds like we would need to maintain what we had in that table up ahead or up above. It seems like we would need to maintain the 500 square feet and then entertain a proposal to increase it if that's a burden on entities and we have other energy saving measures that would perhaps make up for it. Regarding the table above, it would be moving backwards to allow all fenestration to be 0.7. So I guess in my understanding, we would need to maintain what's currently in what Krista has currently written up there. And then we'll entertain code change proposals to see if that's different, to see if any the TAG wants to make a change. Okay. But to Dwayne's point, right, I guess, yeah, we can look up whether 0.7 is worse than glazing required elsewhere.
So the next change is on the insulation component R-value method with just some further specification on multiple layer.
Lisa has a comment.
Sorry, one more comment about the greenhouse. I also think it would be worthwhile to confirm that fenestration is actually the appropriate term for what we're talking about here, because again, these are greenhouse assembly types. And I don't know, is there someone on the call that is a greenhouse expert that could respond to that? Because I don't believe that they were referred to as, it wasn't referred to as vertical fenestration in the product search. I'd have to go back and look at that original study. I don't know if Lewis is still on the call. Do you recall? Yeah, he may not be on the call. I can look into this one, Shell, and see if fenestration is the correct assembly type or title.
So under 402.1.1.3 greenhouses, it under number 3 it says fenestration in the code.
Sure.
And it really only applies to greenhouses that have heating in them. So unheated greenhouses, the U factor does not apply.
Right. I'll take this one offline and look and check that original proposal from the 2018 and see if because it has product information in that proposal to see what terminology was used for that.
Okay, Dwayne, did you have something to add?
Yes, I'm looking right now at the latest case report for California while they're working on their grow facility rules, and they use the term non-opaque wall assemblies. And interestingly, they have for all roof and wall non-opaque wall assemblies 0.7.
Ah. Yeah, perhaps we can bring this one back up at the next meeting. We could do some research between now and then.
That sounds great. We're almost 15% of the way through the code and halfway through our time. So yeah, I think let's move on and we'll revisit this, Lisa.
Any comments on the insulation component R-value method? So ICC has some slightly more stringent requirements for metal building R values. And a different assembly for wood framed and other walls. And pulled opaque doors off of this table completely and moved it over to the U factor table. And the footnote G went away with that deletion of the garage doors. A new section was added on roof ceiling assemblies. And the rationale says this was intended to be used for repair and replacement. So I'm not sure why it's here. Oh, never mind. I misspoke reading the actual rationale.
Mike Kennedy.
I guess this is a section, and I was not very involved in this, but we have quite a lot of stuff in our Appendix A about not averaging R values, because it's not actually it's not a technically correct way of doing it. You know, it's more of a U value thing. So I'm not sure that I think this might actually weaken the code. I was hoping someone else that was more involved, like possibly Dwayne in the roof insulation stuff, would be able to comment on that. But anyway.
Well, remember, they're not averaging the R value, they're averaging the thickness, which is still a little iffy, but maybe it's close enough.
Well, thickness times R value is the R value, right? I mean,
it's done in U. I mean, I think they're just talking about if you were to stack bats in a cavity, that you do add them up in R, but then you convert them to U. But when you're averaging, it's always done in U, just like a UA calculation.
I read a slight contradiction in this because under C4 2.1.4.1, it says the maximum U factor shall not exceed that specified in the table. But then under tapered, it allows you to average, which seems like it directly contradicts the previous sentence. Is that how other people were reading this?
Well, let's take a step back, Shell. I probably average more slope roofs than anybody. And there's two methods of doing it. One by volume, and where you get the volumes from Revit, and that is the most accurate. And then the second method is using the lookup tables in Appendix A, which is not quite as accurate because the lookup tables were based on XPS, which is R5 per inch, and 99% of the tapered rigid is polyiso, which is R5.7 to R6.5 per inch. But when you manage all the drains and averaging, I have a giant Excel spreadsheet that does this, and I mean, it's done every day, but it's done in U, not in R. And if you want to sit on it, I can send an example over to Krista, and we can look at it at the next meeting.
I agree, Patrick, that doing it in U would be is the correct way. I'm just not clear that this language says that. Particularly the
Agreed. I don't think this language is what we want, but having some sort of not so much definition, but tour guide regarding sloped rigid would be good in the code.
Where's the section in the code that allows the tapered exception? Because it's not.
I don't think there is one. It's just methodology from ASHRAE fundamentals and 90.1. I mean, part of the problem with the energy code is lack of language, but it's done every day. And the law.
Okay, so this is basically just formalizing. Oh, there we are. So this appears to be taking language from this where Chris is now and changing it and putting it elsewhere. So this is the R value method.
And essentially averaging the slope rigid, if the runs are short, like say 10, 12 feet to the drains, it's a waste of your time. But some of these runs, you start getting into 30, 40 foot runs,
yep.
You know, you're going to have an overall average of like R20, R26 or common numbers. And it should be, you know, in the assembly, not just the base layer.
So I guess the question is the language on that is in the IECC moving us backwards? And if so,
possibly.
Chell, I think it is moving us backwards. And I have language in the new Seattle code that we worked out with a manufacturers group for dealing with tapered insulation that we put into the appendix. So I would suggest that we strike this tapered insulation thing and I'll make a code change proposal with this, what we've got in Appendix A.
Okay, so we'd strike just CO 402.1.4.1.1 that Krista outlined?
Yeah.
Okay, I think.
Unless somebody likes that language.
Well, whether we like it or not, if it moves us backwards, then we can't choose it. Okay, that seems reasonable. Mike, you have a question?
More a question to Krista, just for, I mean, is there a difference to leave it and Dwayne still makes a code proposal in terms of numbering? I mean, do you have to renumber the draft now, or is it, that's my question, is just, do you have to renumber the 0.1, the 0.1, 1.2, 1.3 below as part of the integrated draft? Or would it be simpler just to leave it and Dwayne proposes it and make the substitution at that time?
Well, the argument is that as it's less stringent, it would be more proper to strike it now and reintroduce something else later. And just renumbering the two following subsections is no problem.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. Yeah, because we don't want to put something in or allow something in as part of this integrated draft. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. And not everything Dwayne has ever proposed has made it into the final energy code.
Really?
Just most of this stuff. All right, so this seems good. And we would also probably remove this language from the section below where it's discussing the same thing.
Okay.
Okay, well, why don't we take our break right now? Let's see if we can be back in like 3 minutes, something like that. Just a short bio break. Refill your coffee.
You're so generous, Chell.
So, or I don't know. 10:28. How about we're back at, or 10:29? How about we're back at 10:29? All right, Krista, are you back and situated?
I am here and just having trouble unmuting.
All right, well, whenever you're ready, we can continue.
Okay, there's a minor clarification to the thermal resistance of cold form steel walls that's just point you to the right table. And some minor adjustments to the U value to match the new assembly types and values in the R value table. And some revisions on the door values and just a little reorganization. And then 2 new footnotes, one carried over from the previous table. And a new clarification.
Mike Kennedy has a question, comment?
Yeah, on the fenestration U factor table, I guess I just was noticing the U factor there is the Washington State 0.38, and the IECC has adopted a 0.36 for, I believe, for fixed. Or maybe
So are you down in table 402.4 or?
yeah, 2.4, the fenestration table. Sorry. And the fixed U factor of 0.38, which is from the Washington Energy Code, the IECC fixed fenestration requirement now is 0.36. And I didn't know whether that was something we'd want to adopt as part of the integrated draft. So just bringing it up.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be for all others rather than the Class AW windows though? That was my assumption when I was doing the integrated draft.
They don't make that distinction, so all fixed fenestration is 0.36.
Well, what you're looking at in this table is aluminum product, non-metal. I mean,
right.
Metal fixed. And so if someone wants to change it from 0.38 to 0.36, that should be a code change proposal.
That's the IECC value at this point.
But the IECC value is consistent with our all other vertical fenestration, the 0.30 window. So ours would still be more stringent. It's just for that specific Washington State amendment for the Class AW windows, which is a different product and not.
Well, it is, though, the IECC category of fixed fenestration includes both Washington State categories. It does, you know, the fixed fenestration in the IECC applies to Class AW windows. Is the point. But
Washington State code, an AW window is basically a curtain wall and possibly could be a window wall, but the
right.
state code applies also to like low-rise storefront, any fixed non-metal product. So it could be at ground level, and storefront typically is not an AW window.
Well, I guess the point that Mike is making is that if all fixed windows in the IECC 2021 have to be 0.36 or better, including Class AW and non-Class AW, then the integrated draft should reflect that as U equals 0.38 under fixed, if I'm understanding what Mike said correctly. Dwayne?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If you want to be the most stringent of the two. And I'm okay if you guys think we should stick with the 0.38, but the IECC has gone for that one. Now their operable value is above ours, so.
Well, I guess my understanding is we're probably supposed to go with a more stringent, or at least overlay the 2021 IECC improvements on the Washington State Energy Code, which would suggest that we would put in 0.36 if it's been adopted
Right.
for all fixed windows in the IECC 2021. Dwayne?
Yep.
So I don't know if there are any rated Class AW windows that are not metal.
Say that again, Dwayne.
And yeah, I think that all the rated Class AW windows are metal anyway, and all the curtain wall and window wall and site built stuff, storefront is metal. So really, this should align with our metal frame window values.
Well, I will say this. I mean, you're making the codes more stringent by going to 0.36. And I will also say you can buy better than 0.36 curtain wall and storefront all day long.
Great. We obviously want to make a code that is buildable. So Dwayne, do you agree, based on your knowledge of IECC, that the 0.36 is what the IECC requires for as a maximum for all windows, including Class AW?
No.
No, okay.
We have Class AW, and we say Class AW, but that's like 2% of what's in this category here. It's all the storefront
Okay.
and
Site built. Yep.
And all that is one category, and then all other, which is basically all your punched window openings,
yep,
metal and non-metal, are in the all other. So I don't know.
But what Mike is saying is that the IECC doesn't have that distinction, and it has all windows meeting 0.36.
Yeah. No, IECC has the Class AW and site built stuff as one category, and then all other as another category. That's how we're doing it now.
The IECC?
Yeah.
This table does not align with our current code.
It's not supposed to. We've changed formats for how glazing. Instead of doing the metal and non-metal, we're doing the site built and all other.
I just sent you the table in my version of the IECC. It doesn't mention Class AW windows. Dwayne.
Oh, sounds like it's something we'll have to deal with.
Okay.
I had a second comment on this question, on this table. And the IECC makes another change to SHGCs. And they adopt, instead of north and non-north orientations, which then can be averaged, they have a fixed and operable SHGC, and generally have slightly lower SHGCs. And I'm kind of a fan of that approach, but I just thought that is a difference here.
Well, why don't, so for that one, I guess, you typically with an operable window have a thicker frame, which means you have a lower solar heat gain coefficient because the frame is considered in that calculation. We can't make buildings less energy efficient in this. And if you have a higher solar heat gain coefficient in some areas, that makes it less energy efficient because you need more cooling. Well, why don't, for the next session, Krista, can you bring up that language for the next tag? If you don't have
I
that.
can bring it up now if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah, bring up that language now. And then while you're bringing that up, Mike and Dwayne, if you want to talk offline about what the IECC says about the fixed window value for the next session, that would be great, because I'm unclear, and you two seem to be disagreeing in what value we should put in this integrated draft.
Well, Mike's usually right whenever we disagree, so it's probably him.
There it is. This table would be going backwards.
So we're saying that this would include the site-built products in this table.
Yes.
Okay, my bad. I've forgotten we made that change. Yeah.
Our current code is more stringent than this.
Yeah.
I will say, I do a lot of window wall projects, and they have their aluminum operating casement, and about the best U factor you can get out of them with the best class is like 0.42. So the 0.45 aligns with that. Entrance doors, NFRC tested, they average about 0.58 for a U factor. And when we break out punched opening vinyl in a separate category at 0.30, and then fixed aluminum at 0.38, you know, lowering the fixed aluminum to 0.36 and just leaving our table the way it is would not be bad or a hardship for anybody.
Yeah, I think based on the comments, we need to put this in the integrated draft, the 0.36 for fixed fenestration. And then based on the comments, we should probably also include the operable solar heat gain coefficient that I've also outlined in red into the integrated draft. Does that make sense? Anybody, everybody?
I think I'm going to put in a code proposal.
Appreciate that.
On my list.
Okay.
I think the SHGC is only better for operable because there's more solid area taken up with the hinges and for the operable.
It's how the
exactly.
It's how NFRC in therm, you get a lower SHGC due to the mass of the frame of operable windows.
Yep.
And
okay, well that's great. We had this input, and that will change the integrated draft.
And footnote E would go away.
Footnote E. Great. I'm glad you're going backwards, yeah, because we had skipped a few things in here.
Some additional detail on roof assembly. And
Kennedy.
Oh, sorry.
I was having trouble integrating this with our requirements on tapered insulation. So I'm not sure if we should go back to what we had or just wait on Dwayne's pending code change proposal, or how you wanted to deal with this.
Mike Kennedy, you have a comment?
No, I don't specifically on this.
Your hand is up. I think if we're eliminating the IECC tapered language, we should maintain the Washington State Energy Code 2018 tapered language, subject to, of course, code proposals. Does that make sense? Use your emoticons, people. Does this make sense? Does anybody disagree? Have other thoughts? All right. Thumbs up from Mike McGivern. Gavin. Okay.
We need another emoticon for, I don't know, I'm confused.
Yeah, they're only positive emoticons. There's a crying one, but I think it's laughing and crying. It's joy. And then there's, of course, the sparkly one. Dwayne, what are you confused about?
I'm trying to square this tapered insulation thing with everything else. It's more complicated than I want to spend time wading through here.
Okay. Gavin? Gavin, you're on mute.
Sorry, guys. We're not getting rid of the staggering language anywhere, are we? This is just tapering.
Yeah, this is if we're not we're not incorporating the 2021 IECC language on tapered insulation. We should retain the tapered insulation language from the 2018 Energy Code.
Right. Well, I guess I saw that language down there in 402.2.14 where it's dealing with tapering too when you're going into scuppers. I guess I feel like this is a conversation that's could get deep.
So you're saying 402.2.1.4, the new language replicates or is similar to other language we already have that we crossed out?
Well, the language that Krista's got highlighted is talking about roof drains and tapering. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 sections down, you have the portion that's discussing joint staggered again. And I guess I'm trying to speak up to say staggering joints is really important. And if we're addressing tapering in the previous portion, we need to look at 402.2.14 as well. That's all.
Yeah. I guess would it be appropriate for this integrated draft to just maintain all of the exceptions, exceptions 1, 2, and 3, and then not include the IECC 2018 language, and then entertain a proposal from Dwayne or others? Would that be more consistent? Because I guess there's a possibility that none of the proposals are accepted, and we still need to have a document that reads well.
It's something that maybe Dwayne and I would want to work on together, because between the two of us, we probably see more tapered rigid than anybody, you know?
Yep. Okay, so does that seem acceptable to everybody, to keep the 3 exceptions and not use the 2018 IECC language below for the C4 2.1.1, 2.1.2, 2.1? Well, I guess we might maintain, we would just get rid of C4 2.2.1.4 and maintain all 3 exceptions. So that seemed like a reasonable path forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Just some minor renumbering. Some clarification and reformatting for slab on grade, perimeter insulation, change to the title. Correct a typo here. Just a little more detailed. Some revisions to language on airspaces, just trying to clarify it. And the original proposal also identified this as a mandatory provision and asked that it be included in the C407 table. And then just some coordination issues on section citations. And some minor changes to the minimum skylight fenestration area, incorporating the tubular daylighting devices. And ICC went back and forth again, and they're now saying instead of just top lit zone, they're throwing the word daylight back in. So side lit and top lit now include the word daylight after them throughout the code. And a new exception added for storm shelters complying with ICC 500. You don't need skylights in them, which is probably a good idea. And just some minor tweaks. Some changes to the door sections. New requirements pointing to the tables for opaque swinging doors. And clarification that if you have a non-swinging door that isn't vertical fenestration, where to go for those. I feel like I'm going kind of fast. Are there any comments on those sections?
In that exception where it says other doors, they mean to say other non-swinging doors?
Those would be vertical fenestration, right?
Yeah, I think that they mean doors that have more than that 14% or more than the 25%. But it seems like just saying other doors makes this kind of nebulous. If it's supposed to only apply to that subsection, maybe we should put in the word non-swinging.
David.
Yeah, I mean, there's this exact same language in the exception is up above as well. So I think
that wouldn't be limited to non-swinging though.
right. So I think Dwayne's suggestion makes sense.
I feel like there's a overlap here in this 14% to 25%. That's the garage doors. I'd like to take this. I may have comments on this next time. I'm going to look at it.
Okay, thanks.
I'll just say one thing. I can't remember the last time I used a non-swinging opaque door. I mean, we use roll-up doors and they fall into a different category. I mean, a non-swinging opaque door to me is like a hollow metal door that is never opened. And you just don't do that.
No, it's a defined term, Patrick, under door, non-swinging.
I guess my question is, do we need it? You know, opaque door, whether it swings or not, is an opaque door.
But it's considered opaque if it has less than 25% glass in it, which is not entirely opaque. But there's only hinged section doors. Yeah, I would suggest we keep the language. David, do you have a comment or is your hand still up?
Sorry, hand was still up.
I will note that the C402.4.4.1 language is exactly the first sentence under the parent section. So it seems kind of redundant.
I agree. Yeah, and C402 point. No, I'm just going to outline it. Yeah, it says opaque doors comply with this one or that one, but we've actually told them right here that it needs to comply with this. So it does seem like we're giving them an option, but we didn't really give them an option.
And
so
it also doesn't mention garage doors, which are now part of our tables up above.
I guess this seems like a garage door to me. Horizontally hinged sectional doors.
Right, because the garage door ends at 14%. I actually looked at this code change proposal, and so they've got kind of garage doors used above there, and then horizontally hinged sectional doors down here.
Which is just a garage door with a little bit more glass in it. Okay, I feel like there's some cleanup that would be good to happen with this, and then these two options. Maybe I'll suggest some language next time that would be clearer, but require all the same things. Okay, let's move on and we can clean it up next time.
Just some minor editorial changes to air barrier paragraph. And a couple of new sections. And these are pretty much the ICC language, just deleting out everything. They had different requirements for the different climate zones, and I'm only including the 4 and 5s.
I guess I have a question about C402.5.1.2, which is, it's not clear to me, is it you comply with the word including here? So you're saying the building, that a building that includes a group R occupancy needs to meet this, but the portion of a building that's not group R needs to meet this. It's unclear to me which parts of which buildings are required to meet either of those. Is it, Dwayne?
I was very confused by this, and I think that at the very least that word including in item number 1 should be that include something, because it seemed like the second one says everything other than R and I, but that would at least help somewhat.
And then you might also want to say that do not include in the second one, groups and buildings that do not include group R and I guess what do you do with the mixed use building?
Well, it's a portion of a building that's other than group RI. That
okay.
I would like to make the case that this thing about the group R is actually a rollback, because when you get down into it, it says that you just test individual dwelling units in an apartment building, not the whole building, and that is an argument I lost at the IECC, but it means that you're just pressurizing, all 6 sides of an apartment unit, only one of which is the exterior wall leaking to the outside, and the others are, leaking to some other part of the building, and you can't ever tell how much goes where. And so I think that this is not as much of a protection against air leakage as testing the whole apartment building. That said, something like this needs to be done for those buildings that are kind of the California style apartment buildings where everybody accesses their unit from an exterior balcony, and you can't just pressurize the whole building. But as far as applying this individual unit testing to every apartment building, most of which in this part of the country are accessed through internal corridors and could be tested all as one building, is probably a rollback.
Louis.
Yeah, this is Louis with NIA. I kind of agree with Dwayne there. I think in to some extent what Washington State had was kind of the gold standard. I think this stuff that was in IECC is kind of the bronze at best. And so, and you know, I think Dwayne knows much more about air leakage testing probably than I do, but my sense is that what we originally had was a little more stringent than that, but that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thanks. Lisa? Lisa, you're on mute. Okay, Gavin. Gavin lowered his hand. David.
I just want to say I agree with Dwayne on this, that it seems like it's a rollback for the group R and I occupancies where you have a double loaded or single load an enclosed corridor access to the units, but we need something for the garden style buildings that fall under the commercial code.
Okay, I agree.
Sorry, I was muted.
Go ahead, Lisa, and then Patrick.
Okay.
Yeah, I also concur with all the comments there that this does appear to be a rollback. This is a question for those that were, there during these meetings for the IECC. Do you know if like the Air Barrier Association of America or one of those other organizations were a part of this discussion? Was there any kind of evaluation showing an equivalency here of what was there before?
I don't remember the Air Barrier Association getting involved here, but this, I believe, came from PNNL, and Reed Hart was running it, and it was the one that he could work out at a national level cost effectiveness because it's obviously really easy to just go in and spot check a number of apartments with a single fan you can take around on a hand truck, and so it was easier. So I think I see a chat coming up from Chell, which is kind of what I was thinking, that you split that out to say that first item would say those that are accessed from the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second item would say everything else.
Yeah, that would make a lot more sense. This is another one where likely we're going to get comments back from the building enclosure testing folks in the industry, and so Shell, I'm not sure if this is one of those where we put it out to the public and let them respond, or if we do initial evaluation on it to verify what is the appropriate path to make sure that there's no backsliding on our code.
Well, Lisa, remember that this is already the whole building test is already what Washington State Code is.
Right,
so
right, exactly.
Wants to propose that we that the individual unit testing is somehow better. I think they should bring that forward as a code change proposal.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying, because the item number 2, as I said, it does appear that it is you're testing less of the building, and so it feels like it's backsliding. So that, I think that's the concern.
Yep. Okay, so we have some proposed language, we have something I wrote, something David Reddy wrote. Patrick was going to speak next. So Patrick.
I agree that it's a rollback, and we're actually doing very well in the city of Seattle and the state of Washington with the current language. And the bulk of the buildings are passing, and it has raised the bar regarding construction standards and quality assurance. And some contractors have been so good, they can pass the baseline code without going to C406, just using commercial Tyvek, but doing a good job.
That's great. Louis?
Going not doing the whole building would be backwards.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not going to add anything. The fact that Patrick thinks it's a good idea, I think it makes it unanimous.
Okay, so we have some proposed language that would avoid our backsliding. Does anybody disagree with the language? Mike?
No. Yeah, I just wanted to say, as someone who actually does air leakage testing, the fact that the residential section is specified as an unguarded test, so it would include when you test a unit, you would be counting all the leakage to the other units as well. I don't actually agree that it's necessarily a reduction in efficiency. I think it more is expeditious testing. But to the extent that Patrick has said that we're doing fine with the testing on the current standard, then that seems like a safe way to go.
Okay, we have David and then Gavin.
I guess I would say that in buildings with exterior openings, we've actually had to go to the code official to propose, this test that's described here for the dwelling units, because you can't, other than doing guarded testing or some other approach, there's not really in the commercial code a way to, that I understand, to meet the general provisions. And in fact, the residential code, I think, added some language to specifically around this for testing the garden style apartments, didn't it?
Okay, great. I think we have some code language. Let's only take disagreements so we can move on.
Just one more comment regarding the garden style apartments. They don't do a lot of them, but the ones that I have been doing the last few years are passing, even with an attic. And how we did that was, since we have 2 layers of 5/8 at the ceiling, we staggered the joints and used airtight drywall methodology, and they're passing building after building after building.
That's great. Gavin, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I guess I'm aware of some passive house projects in the Seattle area, not from Seattle personally, but that had to go to garden. And these are passive house apartment multifamily, may even be low income. But they had to go to garden style in order to make the airtightness requirement. And I guess I'm wondering, as we continue to improve the code here, I just want to make sure that we are allowing provisions for testing and accurately testing such projects, because I think builders will need to start chasing that airtightness number.
Yep. Do you concur with the proposed integrated draft language?
Yeah, I guess I do. So sorry for the commentary there, but I just want to make sure we're protecting that.
Yep. Mike.
Based on what someone just said, I went and looked at the residential code, and it has the exception for dwelling units that are accessed directly from outdoors. And then has language. So that might actually be a way, I mean, maybe that's a code proposal, but it handles the garden variety, garden units.
Well, most garden units are 3 stories and less, and they can permit them prescriptively under the residential code.
Now, if we can handle it through a code change proposal, I think that's great. If there's challenges to the wording on the screen, then let's daylight those now. Otherwise, let's move on. There is a question about directly, access directly from the outdoors. I guess all the units are accessed at some point through the outdoors. Mike, go ahead, Mike Feller.
That's, I think, was where my thoughts are going, is that as the point 1 or the number 1 line reads, could it be interpreted as I've got a group R building and portions of it are accessed? That means I can do my entire building as
yep.
sampling portion. You know, is it? Yeah, if you can do that, or
I think directly
we can say just that more that the units where there are dwelling units. If we could I think adds more clarity. I just thought there was still a little bit of vagueness in saying a group R building where portions of it. Does that mean you can do that as your building test? And just the units that are the ground floor units, or even a 4th floor exterior entrance. It's only for the dwelling units access from the exterior. It doesn't provide that as an option for the remainder of the building, that if you have ground floor that was exterior only and the floors 2 through 6 were interior corridor.
I guess if occupancies was dwelling units, that would be clearer. Because
I think group R dwelling units and I occupancies. I don't know. I'm trying to think how that would apply to an I occupancy, but that's
the group R occupancy would be as an entire building would be entered from the outdoors, but a group RE dwelling unit access from the outdoors would be kind of what we're trying to get at.
Yeah, I think where my hang up is if we have a case of, we've done them in California, where the ground floor is accessed directly from the exterior, but everything levels 2 and above are interior corridors. Where does there's, then I think fine with dwelling units from the outside. So that's where I was just trying to get, if you've got a mixed use, not mixed use building, but a mixed entry sense of which situation of a building.
Yeah.
The dwelling units from outside are tested one way and the rest of the building is tested at the other as line item 2. Thanks.
Dwayne?
I'm having a hard time imagining which group I occupancies would have units that were accessed from the outside. I mean, I as hospitals and prisons and like that.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. Nursing homes are I's.
And we're talking about buildings that are 4 stories and taller. I think the and group I is irrelevant here, isn't it? Unless somebody can think of a.
Yeah, I was stumped there too.
Okay, I think we could remove it, and then if somebody wants to add a code change proposal to bring it back, they would be encouraged to do so if they think it's important.
Also delete in buildings or portions of buildings.
I think that's a good deletion. Group R dwelling units that are accessed directly from the outdoors shall meet provisions of that. And then all other buildings or portions of buildings shall meet the provisions. I think that's really clear language. As much as I hate wordsmithing things in a large group, large, amazingly intelligent group like this, I think we got to something that was better. So let's move on.
So there's a requirement here for building envelope performance verification. Just stating that it needs to show on the plans and how it was inspected and by whom and commissioned. And then the building test was divided out into the two sections.
Mike.
Yeah, well, in the second section, the metric equivalent for 0.2 CFM is 2 liters per second. That's actually the metric equivalent for 0.4 CFM. And I believe the correct number should be 1.27. And then I don't know where the 1.5 in the one up above came from, but that should also be 1.27. And if anybody wants to check my math on that, that would be great. But
those same changes will need to be made in C406 as well, because I think that's where the 0.25 was.
right. And then we go to 0.17 there.
I guess when we switched from this previous language to these, did we miss anything? Is anything missing before that was in there before that is gone now?
They have expanded the number of acceptable tests, and I don't know anything about that.
Also, before it said pressurization, depressurization are acceptable. There's a language about that, and I don't see that in these sections. I don't know if that's implicit in the tests or explicit in the testing, but this number 1 right here is that doesn't seem to be contained in the language below, but that might be required by the test, so I don't know. Sounds like we need to do some homework on that.
I have the test procedure, so I can look at that, Joe. That's Mike.
Okay, that'd be great.
Joel, I do have one comment question. Maybe I'm just not seeing it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking for the language that talks about, initial report and then follow-up report. Maybe I'm not skimming fast enough to see where that is. Krista, is that language still present in there or did that go away?
If I understand your question correctly, if we look at the exception down here, does that cover what you were asking about, Lisa?
Additional report. So I see. So that's for the secondary report. Okay. I'll skim this more thoroughly. And if I have any further comments, I'll bring it up the next meeting.
Yes, the actual
one
0.4 and but it's under the exception.
And that only applies to the 5.3, not to 5.2.
Correct.
Which might not be correct. Seems like we'd want the 5.2 to have to go through the same hoop.
Yeah, it feels like there's a little something missing here, but as I said, I think it's gonna take a more thorough read to figure out like where those pieces need to go. Is this something that the tag would be able to revisit the next meeting?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yeah, we can revisit it. And so Mike's going to do some things. Maybe you also want to do a few things and bring your research.
Okay.
Next time.
Yep, we'll do.
And here's a big one. Requiring interlocks for heating and operable openings.
Mike, do you have your hand up? Do you want to say something? And Dwayne.
This one's pretty cool. It says that, and I think we have something very similar in the Seattle code. And it says, if you prop the door open for more than 10 minutes, the heating and cooling set points to that space that the door is open to change a lot.
Well, this isn't like prop the door open kind of size of door, right? 40 square feet. This is more like
40 square feet is a door.
You have like a nano wall or I guess 40 square feet is, yeah, 3 foot by, yeah, it's a decent sized door. So if you have like a nano wall or an operable wall, you open that, then it locks you out.
Right.
Agreed. The 40 square feet makes it pretty liberal.
Yeah, you could have a single leaf swinging door, but a double leaf or a roll up door or something like that. You just would have to. You couldn't be running the cooling at the same point you'd have the door open in the summer.
Lisa.
Yeah, my only question, and maybe we'll answer this question when we get to the mechanical section, is that there is language about this, right? C403.13, and I think it provides like similar the set points and that kind of thing. And so I think maybe the only question I have is just making sure that we don't have like duplication on this one. You know, if you have one section that defines the temperature range under envelope, and then another section that defines the temperature range over in mechanical, you know, we're saying some information more than once. I guess that's a question for Krista. What was your take on that? Is there duplication here, or is it are they supporting?
I think there is quite a bit of duplication. I'm trying to remember.
Okay. Just, you know, good code language, you know, trying to avoid that when possible.
Alan has a question.
Yeah, I was thinking that for disabling the cooling, it might be helpful to just, instead of raising the set point to 90 degrees, just say cooling is disabled, period. And then for the 55 degrees, it feels like that could go lower, down to 40 degrees as an example, just to stay above freezing.
I think that's a good code change proposal. I guess I don't know how much ability we have to do that in this today.
Okay.
So yeah, the 403.13 does pretty much just duplicate that paragraph.
Yeah, and the original code section that talked about this was not there. It's somewhere else. I'm skimming trying to find what code section number that was, but it's possible that some of this language is actually in 3 different spots, saying all kind of generally the same thing. So that might be worth looking into that.
Okay, well, we're going to go through the whole code so we can flag that as we go through it. There are different setback temperatures for other reasons. But yeah, let's see if this 90 and this 55 stay consistent for operable openings. And then we'll continue this for public comment. Keep it in for now. It doesn't move us backwards. David.
Sorry. So is the interpretation, I mean, would this be more than 40 square feet of total operable openings, or just be a single opening, such as a double leaf door or larger that is confined to one opening?
That's a really good question. I mean, it's plural, operable openings.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to say single or per 40 square feet, or like a fenestration product that has 40 square feet of opening.
No, I would say it's just the opposite, that what this says, but maybe doesn't say clearly enough, is that the openings, plural, to the outdoors are larger than 40 square feet in area. Probably should say the total area of openings.
Or
something.
I think it's per opening.
Well, then that would be kind of silly, because you could have 14 doors that were all 38 square feet.
Openings larger than 40 square feet?
Yeah, I'm thinking of projects we've done, and if we do a revolving door and we have exit doors on each side of them for our accessibility in the vestibule. I guess vestibules would be excluded from that, but if there's a service door, there could easily be service doors in a lobby, which would mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but it would be real easy to get to 40 square feet with just 2 swing doors. And I don't think that's what the spirit of this is, because a swing door is 21 square feet. So if you had 2 swing doors that were open, you're at 40, and then you have to go this. I think the spirit of this is 40 square feet per opening. That's a large opening.
Yeah, that's my guess as well.
Right.
Michael Baranek, you had raised your hand.
No, sorry. People have answered my question in that recent discussion there.
Okay, so I guess this comes down to whether we think that the intent of this code change proposal at the national level was a single opening of 40 square feet or multiple openings that total 40 square feet within a single occupancy.
Correct.
Okay, I will go with, I suppose that if it applied to multiple 3-foot doors, then you'd have to have some kind of interlock on all those 3-foot doors and somehow know when more than one of them were open. So I'll concede that it probably just means an individual opening.
Or Lisa.
Hi, I found the code section in mechanical that's dealing with the same general topic. It's section C403.4.1.6, door switches for HVAC system thermostatic control. Now it doesn't define an area scope, so it's a little different, but it does set temperature range of 55 to 85. So I think that these 3 sections do need to be looked at collectively to make sure there aren't any conflicts between them.
For 5 minutes.
Nope. 5 minutes and 90 degrees. Instead of 10 minutes and, or 5 minutes and 85 versus 10 minutes and 90. Okay. It's good catch, Lisa. And then when we go back to the prior section, we should make it clear that it totals, that a single opening is over 40 square feet.
That's pretty small, considering your average roll-up door that goes on these projects to produce this kind of environment is 10 by 10, which is 100 square feet.
Yep, and we use operable walls that are always larger than 40 square feet.
Always.
So I think that's a good thing we can add to the prior section we looked at.
So, Chell, I think actually that the section in C402 is something very simple without any degrees or minutes or anything like that. It says that openings over 40 square feet have to comply with section 403 point something. And then
you could be done just saying that.
Instead of having all this detail in 2 places, we'd have
That
one
sounds
that
great.
reference the other.
So the
Well,
exceptions
except you
would
don't
still
have the
need to be,
exceptions in the other one.
yeah, we would need to maintain the exceptions, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it would say where occupancies utilize any operable openings to the outdoors that are larger than 40 square feet in area. I think that's all we would change in there.
You want to try giving me that one again?
I just chatted it. Where occupancies utilize any, I don't know, maybe that's not the best language. Utilize any operable openings to the outdoors, or any single operable openings to the outdoors. It doesn't seem like it's quite right, but it's, you have smart people on the call that can probably propose a better word than that, but. Or, okay, we could also strike any single and put that are individually larger than 40 square feet or something like that, if we wanted.
The where occupancy is utilized seems kind of extraneous.
Yeah. Yeah. Where any operable openings to the outdoors are larger than 40 square feet in area. I just chatted what it could be good. Yeah. I think that's clear. Mike's given us a thumbs up. Okay. And then after that, we would say, such openings shall comply with section something or other. Or do we need to maintain the to be interlocked with a heating and cooling system?
What's your question?
Well, we were going to change this to directly reference the other section, and such openings shall be interlocked with a heating and cooling system as required by section. And then we list the section, and then we can delete the rest of this except for the exceptions. Does that, anybody have any comments on that?
That should do it.
It's good. David, ready? Do you have a comment?
Well, I'm getting the sense that this was modeled after the Title 24 language. I can forward a section from that, but it says any directly conditioned space with operable wall or roof openings to the outdoors. So it's not really even trying to limit to the size even. So I don't know what this is. 40 square feet is from the ICC update.
And certainly the section that Lisa pointed out did not have any size limitations to it either.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we're including doors in this, in our understanding of operable openings, which if you took it pretty far, it would basically, any room with doors in it to the outside are required to have this interlocking ability, which I guess could be the intent of the language. David, do you know if that was the intent of the language in California?
Yes, well, there's a number of critical exceptions though, in the Title 24, healthcare facilities, high-rise dwelling units. Yeah, a couple other ones. I'll forward the code section right now for others' reference if they want to.
Okay, and then Lisa, I can't tell if your hand is still up from a prior question or you have a new comment. Okay. Okay, so maybe this is adequate for today, and we will revisit this next time with additional California code language and other thoughts. Okay, let's move on.
Jill, before you have to leave, did you want to talk about the next meeting?
Yeah, so I'm plan on being here till 12:30. Or did we schedule this till 12 or 12:30?
30.
12:30.
12:30.
So I could be here till 12:30.
Okay.
But we should talk about the next meeting. Do we have a date for that?
No, I was gonna pull the people here in the meeting and see what date prior to the 18th they can meet and try to get through the rest of the document. And how long they would like to meet.
Well, given that we're 20-25% through the code in 4 hours, a long period of time seems necessary.
There will be some significant chunks that we won't need to review. Well,
Okay. I am fine Monday the 8th in the afternoon Friday the 12th in the afternoon or Thursday the 11th in the morning. I don't know, is this better for a doodle poll, or do you think it's efficient to?
Historically, we've always done them on Fridays because a lot of us don't work on Fridays. And so we're not disrupting our normal busy work week.
Yeah, the Building Code Council has legislative meetings, of which I am a part, legislative committee meetings from 11 to 1 on Fridays, which I can skip some of those, I guess, but.
Well, I'm just saying later in the week is better than earlier in the week, because I think for most of us, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is kind of on fire.
Okay, Friday at 1 works for me on the 12th. Friday 1 to 5. I mean, that's kind of a horrible time from getting out of town or doing something on the weekend, but.
Or Friday AM, or Friday AM.
Foods and beer, I like that suggestion. Well,
okay, Amy.
Well, why don't we try and figure out if Friday 1 to 5 is a good time for everybody. We can send out a doodle poll and see who's available at that time. Generally with a thumbs up, is Friday 1 to 5 okay for everybody? Anybody?
Yeah, I like morning too.
I like morning. I can't do morning because I have a legislative committee meeting.
Okay, starts at 11.
So I could do 8 to 11. We could even do 8 to 11 and then 1 to 3, something like that. Okay, let's try 8 to 11.
You're gonna have a nice.
8 to 11 and then
8 to 11?
Okay. Eight to 11. All right. Let's do that.
Thank you.
Frozen coffee instead. That's even better. Very Seattle. All right. Let's keep moving.
Okay, the values for data centers changed a little bit in the IECC. These were updated values out of the ASHRAE standard, was my understanding.
So we don't need to put in values unless our values are more stringent than theirs. In Seattle, we've just avoided this whole thing by going to the 2019 ASHRAE, which didn't require us to change any values.
I believe this does reference the 2019.
I think this is the 2016, isn't it?
2016. 2019 doesn't have the design MLC.
Yeah, 2019 just had cleaned up a lot of things, made it better, and made it so that we didn't have to.
There will be a proposal on that, Dwayne.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, so it just stays as is for now then? Or as in IECC? Which would you prefer?
My preference would be to leave the existing language alone and not bring this in. But it doesn't really matter either way.
Hey, Dwayne, this is Nick O'Neill. Working on this measure for NIA, and like you said, we'll mostly align with 2019, and so a lot of this language probably won't be necessary unless we decide we want to lower the MLC values more than what the 2019 version has. So if you leave it like it is, then we can look at that as kind of the threshold, and if we decide we want to scrub it all and just align with 2019, that's an easy fix. Otherwise, the language is already there for us to just easily modify.
That sounds like it was a vote for not showing this change from IECC, right?
All right.
Mike Feller?
My comment was agreement with leaving, but in leaving it, delete out zone 5C. Since we didn't adopt it earlier in the climate zones.
Right. And then I guess the only other thing I would say is that I think, Mike, you might have said this, but the new version of ASHRAE doesn't have a design requirement anymore. So that whole first section that talks about design doesn't need to be there since there is no requirement in the 2019 version.
Right. I would leave this section as edited by Krista right here. And then I think there will be a proposal to upgrade to the 90.4 2019, which will change this a lot. But these are good
Use your
starting guides.
emoticons. Use your emoticons. You agree with Mike or not? Lane's giving us the thumbs up. We have lots of thumbs up. We don't allow you to do a thumbs down, so it's only positive. Okay, so that if it doesn't matter and based on what's been said, why don't we leave it as marked up by Krista, except for deleting zone 5C, because that doesn't exist in our code. Okay.
So new requirement for fault detection and diagnostics.
I guess I had a question about this. Is if a new building is over 100,000 square feet, but they have 5 different HVAC systems, does this apply? And is it intended to apply? It seems unclear to me. Mike. Mike Kennedy? Put your hand up, but I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. I interpret it just because it says system serving GCFA of 100,000, that it's the system. My concern would be is a hydronic system is this the air system? Is a condenser water loop that goes through a 200,000 square foot building that serves individual heat pumps? Is that get triggered by this? And likewise, a big DOAS system. Now, it seems like that's not totally clear here, and that'll be a question that comes up with this language. But.
I guess one way is to just await code change proposals unless there's ideas of cleaning up this language so it's more clear. Okay, well, let's move on and maybe we can make it clearer through code change proposals, or maybe it's already abundantly clear.
Okay, so the requirements on efficiency tables, they've been expanded and they've now been directly extracted from ASHRAE. So one would think that they would actually match better. And I did go through and do the one ASHRAE errata that I found on one of the tables that takes out some values. And it looks like they replaced one of the tables with just a direct reference to AHRI 400 because there was only one line on the table. So they just put it in the text. So these are all the updated table numbers. They're now in the same order as they appear in ASHRAE 90.1 and should have the same values. And a lot of the footnotes changed. The chapter reference just goes to a generic reference to each standard. The NACA reference was changed to be a little bit more generic as well. Well, actually less generic. They're actually referencing which CFR and then a credit to where exactly it's found in ASHRAE, and that's pretty consistent throughout the tables. One typo in the ICC version that I fixed here. These entries on the table were extracted into a different table. And then this is the one where the highlighted values went out of the ASHRAE 90.1 via errata, but they're still appearing in the IECC right now. I'm guessing they will be deleted out when ICC does their first errata for the energy code. And here's another section where they're deleted out.
Mike Kennedy has a comment.
Well, aren't the of those in that table we were just looking at that has two IEER requirements for, I think were those VRF cooling? Yeah. I'm not sure it makes a lot of sense to have two values. And isn't the higher value here already in the Washington code?
Yes. But yeah, those are the ones that were eliminated from 90.1 via errata, so they will be going away.
Okay.
That I just hadn't done that before this, so I wanted to highlight them so everybody knew that they would be going away and not just disappear.
And
And on most of them where I had notes to check, I did go back to ASHRAE to double check things. and went with what ASHRAE had.
Did you
That's all the tables.
catch the double COP in table 9 for the VRF heating efficiencies?
Yeah, that was another one that was an ASHRAE errata.
Okay. So I have a question about if these are referencing directly 90.1 in past code cycles, and I would guess there's at least one item I'm thinking about. We've adopted essentially material that's coming out in the next version of 90.1, you know, that actually comes out before the Washington Code, but after our deliberations, but it's generally gets published before that point, and it's available to us to add. Is that going to cause a problem with this, you know, now that every table is explicitly, we locked into a specific version of 90.1?
Could I take a shot at answering that? I think that the council rules allow for next year to make changes that result from updates to reference standards. So we can do this as best we can now, and then when the next 90.1 comes out, if it's in time for a cycle that the council could adopt the most recent 90.1. Do I have that right, Krista?
The interim stuff is really for more coordination issues within the codes rather than coordinating with published reference standards.
I think we did say, though, that it would be okay for correcting errors in emissions and for integrating updated standards.
And we would just need to be very careful about going in and noting that they were in the footnotes that it was to a different standard than that is in the reference standard chapter, because I don't think we'd want to change everything. That would be a little bit more workload than we could do in an interim to update everything to the most current ASHRAE version.
That sounds right.
So the equation for the water-cooled centrifugal chilling packages changed a little bit. The ICC had different language for the heat pump supplementary heat. I retained what we currently have, but noted what is now in the 2021 IECC. If there is any desire to change it over, it is a lot closer to what we have now, but still does not quite match the Washington language.
So
Yeah.
Krista, you're so under, oh, Mike McGivern, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question about this. As we're reverting back to the fault detection section in C403.2.3. I was thinking that it might be better suited to be in C403.4 under HVAC system controls, even though we decided to leave it as such initially to allow for public comment. Just looking for input on that.
So Mike, that's a reference back to that, or that's relocating the section that you're suggesting?
Yeah, well, it's currently in 403.2.3 under fault detection. My question is, should it be moved to 403.4 HVAC system controls?
I guess does that fall under a code change proposal, or is that something that's under the purview of what we're doing right now in the tag?
I would say that's more a code change proposal.
Okay.
But it's up to the tag if there's consensus to do that.
David.
So I missed which section the suggestion was to move it to, but 403.2 is a group of mandatory requirements, right, for HVAC systems, whereas other sections may not necessarily be referenced as mandatory.
That's an important distinction, and you're talking primarily like under C407 or something?
Yeah. I think other sections reference the entire C4 3.2 as being mandatory. And although, it's possible to reference other sections in like C407, for example, just needs to be covered if it is moved.
Okay, well, why don't we suggest that it's a code change proposal, and hope that, Mike, that you suggest that over the next couple months. Elizabeth has a question.
I guess, or a kind of comment going back to the, oh my gosh, my brain, heat pump, electric resistance heating. I guess if we're ready to go back to that. There were a couple of similarities, but also a couple of key differences between the current language and the proposed language. I think especially, I think it was a page or two down, Krista, that it seems like there would need to be some sort of kind of look at this a little bit more, because there were some, I think, not insignificant functional differences. So heat pump supplementary heat, right? So the existing language talks about startup, setup, defrost, right? As well as indicators. Whereas the kind of new CE 116 language talks about defrost, but also talks about kind of malfunctions, which I think would be important to potentially include. So all that to say is it seems like this would need a little bit of a closer look, or possibly kind of combining some of these points.
Yeah. So if in the sentence with all the commas in it, startup, setup, defrost conditions, if we added a few phrases to that from the CE 116, would that adequately address that? Or is this something that we should think about the entire thing and then mash the two up and come back next week with better language?
I guess it sounded, from what you said, it sounded like the same to me, kind of combining both.
I guess today or next week, as in.
Let's say next week.
Okay.
And
so
I can kind of take it as a to do.
All right. Awesome.
I can bring up with Alan.
That sounds great. David?
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, this is probably a code change proposal if we keep the existing language, but that the exception would be include the single packaged vertical heat pumps as well that are kind of somewhat equivalent, especially in residential applications. But I think that the C116 language is more general and would apply to those as well. So that's maybe one reason to look at it.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
And there's just this one section that Lisa mentioned needs to be coordinated with the other two sections. Determine whether we want to have the square footage associated with it, if it should be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and what temperatures we want to use. And if this section goes away and we just go to 403.13, or how we want to integrate that together.
Okay, I guess, so Lisa also asked a question via chat about a question about zone 5C. So you want to ask your question and we'll see if we can address it. Lisa?
Yeah, actually, well, this is more like when we're getting ready to wrap up. So I don't know if now is the time to ask it. Was something I was going to ask because it kind of loops back into our discussion earlier today about 5C, because I did do a quick document scan. I found where 5C is referenced, and it's actually with regards to C406. So it kind of give us something to think about for the next meeting. I'll let you decide when you want to cover that.
If it should be covered today, then there's no time like the present.
Okay, all right. Well then, yeah, kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but yeah, I did a quick scan on the document to find where 5C is referenced, and yeah, most of them are mechanical, like we talked about. But kind of a big deal is it is also a separate category for all the additional efficiency credits, and so it's kind of a bigger deal than what we had talked about earlier in the meeting.
Okay, so maybe when we cover C406, would that be an adequate, appropriate time to cover 5C?
I think so, yeah, because it's just, again, based on what we talked about at the beginning of the meeting on, really, how much it implicated, if we were to take it out, how big of an implication that would be to the code. Going through 406, I actually think it's more substantive. So yeah, it should be a key topic for the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, let's go back to where we were and we'll keep going, and then we'll talk about it when we talk about C406.
The IECC has new language on automatic start and stop. A lot of it is very similar to the changes that we put in last code cycle, but there is a a considerable amount of new language added in. And I could not determine how much I should include, if any. So I left it completely Washington state language, but provided the IACC language there in the comment.
Does anybody want to volunteer to do some homework on this?
Hey, Joe. Sorry, this is Nick O'Neill. So we introduced this language in both Washington and IACC 2021, so I'm happy to help out here where I can. The concern from IACC was just that it didn't specify that automatic stop controls were for DDC-based systems. And so I think that's where there's some more additional language in there to clarify that. So I think, you know, we could align with IACC on that just to provide more clarity, or we can leave it as is. I don't think there's a huge concern there, but simplest thing would be just to align it. That way there is no you know, ambiguity over where we intend these systems to operate. The concern at the TAG meeting last cycle was that these might be hard for single zone systems to meet through their thermostat controls. They're not all capable of that. So if you limit it to DDC based systems, then you have the logic there to accomplish this.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is that adopting the IECC does not move us backwards, and that it is more refined and preferable language, in your opinion.
I think so. It was developed after the TAG meetings last year, so I think it's just a little bit more refined, right?
Okay. Anybody have any more comments on this, or else we can just adopt the IECC language? Okay. Thanks, Nick.
So there was a new exception added to the economizers, but we've pretty much got it incorporated with all our current exceptions for DOAS systems. So the supply air temperature reset controls had some changes. They deleted one of the exceptions and added the language on allowable resets. The original language also had a bunch of dehumidification stuff for the more tropical and hotter climate zones that weren't applicable to zones 4 and 5. There were some changes to the demand control ventilation section. I incorporated some of them, but I didn't put in the specifics on the all single zone systems there in the first charging paragraph. But I did integrate some of the new exception language.
Yeah, Jill, this is Nick again. I'm guilty of this one as well at IECC. So the exception language was supposed to align a little bit better with what ASHRAE was doing, and so that's trying to align the two standards there for exceptions. I don't think it materially changes much in terms of what could be accepted from this. The biggest change is the decrease in people density down to 15 per 1,000 square feet from 25. So that's great. And then we originally proposed that this was applicable to all single zone systems. My read at IECC was that language was struck out, but it looks like it actually made it into the final draft, or the final IECC 2021. So I can put together a proposal to support that if you don't want to accept that language outright. But our intent originally with taking this to IECC was to make DCV required for any single zone system that basically had to already have an economizer with it. So that's what that language references there.
Great. I guess if we can adopt the IECC language, that's not a code change proposal. But if the IECC language is not what you would like to see, Nick, then please submit a code change proposal.
Yeah, I would push for the ICC language.
Okay, I noticed in the comments on the right, it referenced ASHRAE 90.1 2013. So I guess hopefully it would also align with the language in the version of ASHRAE 90.1 that we're going to eventually adopt as well. Do you know which version of ASHRAE 90.1 it aligns with?
You're talking about the comments for the exceptions?
Yeah, they're not on the screen now, but they're just below that.
Yeah, I mean, I have the 2019 version of 90.1 up, and that looks like that aligns. I can look at it closely, but those were changes that were made, I believe, in 2016.
Okay, I just looked in the comments. It looked like okay, ASHRAE 2013 and later. Okay, great, cool. So we'll go with the IECC for the integrated draft.
Yeah, and I just would have to check those section references there because I think those are IECC section references for 3.5 through 5.3. It's supposed to be the economizer section, so just a note on that.
Consistent with what we have.
Great.
Mike Kennedy.
One issue with this language is I'm not sure it plays well with DOAS and the requirement for DOAS in Washington. We'd be requiring the HVAC equipment to have this. It seems like, but not necessarily even if it doesn't provide ventilation. Anyway, I do wonder about that. Whether that needs a little more thought in relation to DOAS.
Hey, Mike, would you qualify DOAS as a single zone system? Okay.
Well, my main concern is that you might have a single zone heating and cooling system along with it that also has an economizer. But it's not providing the ventilation to the space. I'm not sure how I think of, DOAS could go either way, whether it's single zone or multi-zone. But
Louis, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think we were going to introduce some maybe code proposals around DOAS that kind of have to do with demand control ventilation. So my thought is it would be preferable to leave the language kind of as is, but I mean, you know, I haven't had a lot of time to look at this per se, like what Mike's saying. I think maybe next week we could provide more thoughts on this and review comments or something.
Certainly, we can take it up again next Friday between 11 and 8 and 11 in the morning.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, coffee. Although codes are exciting as they are already, so. At least to the people on this call. And I fully appreciate all that. All right, so I guess to be revisited next week. I think there's a preference maybe to go with the IECC language, but we can revisit this again. And Mike and Louis, you both have your hands still up. I'm sure your arms are getting tired.
And temperature set point controls was modified a little bit to break it up into points rather than have one big paragraph to try to make it a little bit clearer. This is for guest rooms. And the ventilation controls went from automatically turning off after 30 minutes to 20 minutes. This may actually take a little bit more time to go through than we have left today. So this might be a good breaking point.
I agree. So we'll start here. We almost made it halfway through, but as you mentioned, that there's a few sections we will be addressing in great detail. Cool. Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you so much, Krista. I mean, you make this possible by going through this and knowing seemingly almost everything about everything.
I also had one little item under other business that Stoyan asked me to bring up to the tag, and it's just something to think about. We had some discussions at the last council meeting with the fluorocarbon bill from last year and how that would impact the availability of certain types of rigid foam insulation panels. And if anyone was aware of any difficulty in getting products that would meet the off-gassing requirements. Did you want to add anything to that, Chell? I'm kind of.
I think, yeah, that's just, it was suggested that there were certain types of insulation products typically used that did not meet the HFC requirements and the energy code. Or rather, yeah, that certain products that were typically used did not meet the HFC requirements, and so builders were challenged in that area. I think that's what I heard, and we would love feedback on that. So I guess send comments to Krista, to me, to Stoyan.
That's all I had.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, everybody. Code is exciting, but not that exciting. So thank you for sitting through this, especially those of you who have a subspecialty, and most of the stuff we talked about today isn't what you have expertise in. And we'll see you for next Friday at 8 a.m. bright and early. All right, we'll adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.